What was that? What was that, Greg?
Well, Pam Bondi is representing the Trump campaign in Philadelphia today, and they're going to make a major legal announcement. And the Pennsylvania AG is on MSNBC, basically saying, "LOL, no." But they fucked around. Now they're going to find out. Hey,
so stop the count is the now official authoritarian death cry.
Yeah, although there are protesters in Arizona yelling, "Count all the votes! Count all the votes!"
Yeah,
and Fox News sucks. And the president is saying, "Stop the count," while I'm losing.
Right, exactly. But I mean, that's the thing, though, is he's only focused on the parts where he's like the counties where he's winning, right? And it helps him create like a diversion, basically.
Yeah.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Right. Good morning. Babs just came out of the office. We're like, why haven't the numbers moved all day? She's working from home / eyeballing AP like it's their job.
Dave's early on the gratitude.
Oh, nice.
Grateful to be joining everyone for this 76th day of the election.
Yeah. I'm not still hungover. It's sad that 5 beers can now make me hungover, but that's the thing that's real. That and 2 hours of sleep, as was mentioned. I don't process anything very well on less than about 6 hours of sleep.
You looked pretty haggard yesterday.
I was. And I still am. I'm just much better at hiding it now.
I am notably not cranky or hungover today. I'm feeling pretty confident.
Good.
This reminds me of 2018, where we all went to bed destroyed because our local friends lost and things weren't going our way. And then we woke up, and over the next several days, more and more House seats came in. We took the House. We did really well in Florida and other places besides my exact county, but it got better as the next few days went by. Still woke up in a Trump administration, so it's looking like this is going to be better than 2018 because good things are happening. 5 states legalized cannabis on Tuesday, and a couple of states went even further than that. So congratulations to drugs on winning the war on drugs.
Right.
That's jeez.
Congratulations to New Mexico for having an all-female, women of color cast and crew for the next couple of years. I am so jazzed about that. I love it. And I know New Mexico sort of gets thrown off to the side. Nobody seems to care about New Mexico, but I'm really interested to see, especially with the indigenous influence and indigenous women, how New Mexico is just going to become sort of a major player as far as environment and other things that this small little state can actually teach the rest of us.
Preach.
Yeah. What are you grateful for? What are you grateful for,
What
Ash?
am I grateful? Well, this morning I got up and it was quite warm. And it was about 20 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
72.
Great. So I threw my suit on under my clothes and went for my daily run. And because we're under kind of a lockdown too, but I can go out and do that. And I got out to the cliffs and it was the sun was so hot that I actually got into the water. Now the water's a bit ice cold, so it didn't really last more than a few minutes. But just to be able to go out there and soak in the salt, which is actually why my hair's back today. Just have that meditation space and the warm sun. Like, I'm really, really thankful for that. I'm really thankful that during this kind of second lockdown, I have access to some nature. So that's a big one for me. Nice.
Corey? Wow, it's rare that we stump Corey on gratitude.
I'm grateful that there is a better than 50-50 shot that we won't have fuckface McGee as a president. Even though the Senate is still going to be problematic, likely. Maybe not, but likely. And, we need to retool how we think about maintaining and keeping more, the House, blah, 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 right? Like I had to sort of okay, where are we actually at? And trying to get some clarity on that. There is a really significant probability that Trump's fucked. That's a thing, right? Is McConnell still going to be there? Yes. Are they still going to be trying to orchestrate minority rule in this country for generations? Yes. But Trump will be fucking gone. That's epic.
It's a good start.
I'm also grateful for my Aunt Gail, who has an unfailing just belief in people. She was like, "Do you think Republicans will start to want to play ball and kind of redeem themselves?" No, they won't. They won't at all. Because that's not what any of this is about for them. Anyway, so we're still doing gratitude, so I'll save that for later.
Right on. I am grateful for Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking like, I keep refreshing on the TV, but one of the two Senate races there is absolutely headed for a runoff between Warnock and Loeffler. Mm-hmm. The other Senate race, the rules in Georgia are if you get less than 50% of the vote, runoff. And Purdue has been falling by the minute and is now at 50.0% of the vote. If there's any more following his percentage, he and Ossoff are going to end up in a runoff for the other Georgia Senate seat. So we may be in a situation here where not only does Georgia swing for Joe Biden, because it's going to be 4-digit close. It's going to be very close in Georgia. James Carville thinks it's going to go because he's talking to people in the counties with votes left to count where they're seeing 80-20, 90-10 for Biden returns in those counties. And there's not a lot to count there, but it's a makeable gap. But we could end up in a situation where both of the Senate races in Georgia are up for grabs, and Warnock is pulling ahead of Loeffler in a runoff. So at least one of the Georgia Senate seats is likely to be blue, and it's possible that both of them could be blue. So, that is 100% Stacey Abrams' hand. She's going to absolutely give credit to everybody else who's done the work, but she got Joe Biden to take her and Georgia seriously, and the Biden campaign invested time and resources in Georgia, and look where we are. Georgia still not closing down that gap. Strong African American turnout. Stacey Abrams. So
it became a battleground state.
Yeah,
and that's a great thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the home of Stone Mountain, right? The home of one of the hotbeds of Confederacy and Jim Crow. Wow.
Which is amazing because, I lived there for 8 years. I lived in Atlanta, and Atlanta definitely is very different, obviously, than the rest of the state, but you still feel it. You still feel the sense of the kind of conservatism that sort of engulfs Georgia, especially in the suburbs that surround the city.
You don't have to go far outside of Atlanta.
You don't have to go far outside of Atlanta to actually know that and to feel that.
Yep.
And so for it to become an incredible battle state and for them to be a real fight to make sure that all those votes are counted, and of course I have many friends there. So it's like, I feel like I'm cheering them on. I feel like it's personal. You know what I mean? My living there, my time there really sort of sealed me to that place. And I have a special, place in my heart for Georgia. And so I'm like, come on guys, come on. Like sing for us, make this right. So yeah, and that is due largely to Stacey Abrams and the work that she has just so deeply invested.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
I'm looking at the Senate races right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's just, the best that we can hope for is a tie in the Senate at this point.
But who breaks the tie in the Senate?
Exactly.
Motherfucking Harris.
Yeah.
So, and let's just, I want to set expectations here because we're
right.
I'm just saying I have a wish. I have a little dream.
Dude, I had a wish about Texas too, and we all see how that went. But I'm with you. I really am with you because I think Georgia is an interesting case and is far more of a toss-up now than Texas is in reality as opposed to the polls. So Alaska, we're very likely to lose. North Carolina, we're very likely to lose. So that gets the GOP up to 50. right? So then we need to win. And again, both of these races look like they're going to go in Georgia to a runoff, which is great. So then we have a chance to pull them up, and we would have to win both of those races. And so we'll have to see. We'll just have to see how that goes. Like the data we were looking at was suggesting that Warnock's going to have a really, really good shot at winning in a runoff for her. Then it's just going to be an organizational thing.
And I also think that what's going to happen now as things loosen up, if we secure a Biden presidency, is right away we're going to learn a lot of things about Kelly Loeffler that have been being kept sort of under wraps. So I think.
Why do you think that?
I just think that I don't think she's going to have as much protection from scrutiny as she's had, and that could make a difference in the runoff. I actually think Warnock's going to smoke her in a runoff anyway, by like 8 or 10 points. So I'm just saying, I think there's a whole lot of people that have had some protection from Mitch McConnell and the machinery of the Republican Party. They're going to be left a little naked here. What I don't think is going to happen, like I've been hearing this, Trumpism will leave the Republican Party. Nope. He increased their vote share this election, and they are not going to let that frying pan go.
But I want to flip the narrative there a little bit, just for the sake of the fact that, you know, what we say Trump has done to the Republican Party. No. Trump is a result of the Republican Party. The Republican Party's been on this path for at least the last 30 years, if not maybe a little bit longer, maybe 40. And so it's been slow. But then in 2000, we had kind of a rush forward with Bush and Cheney. And then, you know, so while Trumpism, we want to say that like what he's done, he hasn't done anything to the party. He was able to enter the party and be a reflection of what the party has been on its way to becoming for a very, very long time. Right. And it's entrenched. So yeah, Trump's gone, but we got a lot of work to do to kind of flip the script as far as, you know, even being able, like they're going to have to redeem themselves. And then as Democrats, we've got to find people that we can cross bridges with that are willing to stand up to and say, this is no longer my party. Even if they want to form their own party or do something else, I don't really care. But we're going to have to find the people who are willing to work with the Democrats because the Republican Party has been on its way to leaving. It's a crumbling mini empire. And, you know, so there's just going to be a lot of work to do even without Trump there.
You know who's really good at that work?
Stacey Abrams.
And Joe Biden.
Right. Yeah.
You know, he's who always got sent to the Hill
right.
to on behalf of the Obama administration to deal. And he's good at it. Yeah. So I'm thinking that's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So what are the, I mean, this sort of feeds the discussion. Like, you know, Aunt Gail was wondering if maybe, you know, McConnell and the Senate Republicans will actually want to work with Democrats and not just be an obstructionist insanity. Do you guys think there's a possibility of that? Because I genuinely don't. I think they will just stop everything that isn't an executive order and only do work to entrench minority rule.
You make a point.
I mean, I'd love to be wrong about that. It's just like I haven't seen a scrap of evidence, and Trumpism now leading the party. There won't be any evidence, right? Like they have absolutely no interest whatsoever in anything other than the project that has dominated their thinking for the last 20 years and will just continue to. Again, I genuinely hope I'm wrong for the country because it would be better that way.
I understand where you're coming from with it, and I do think that maybe Joe Biden is going to have to take charge and do some executive ordering in the first part of his presidency for the sake of being able to undo some things that so desperately need to be done. Maybe in places where it concerns things like economic stimuluses, you know, maybe potentially even certain element of healthcare. You know that one's going to be a passion for him because that was he and Obama's baby, and so you know a few other issues that is just going to have to be that way. And he has indicated that he would be willing to consider those things, and so I think we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. You know, I know that like throwing out the filibuster would be helpful, but if the Democrats are still in the minority, like we might have to figure out how to use it to the advantage until you can flip it around. I don't know. I mean, the Senate is not going to be easy, but if we keep the House and gain the executive, we're at least at a good place to start.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we had a route. So that's yay. Are we still
Looking to
surrounded by
see-
49% of people in the United States being complete fucking psychos? Yeah, I mean that's where we're at. But what you do?
Well, and I saw something the other day. Rochelle Carey, she's an anchor and a journalist that I follow and know, and she said even with the Biden win, we still have to also reckon with the very idea that a good, I don't know, half fucking more of a country still voted for a white racist man rather than a white decent man
who killed 100,000 people and is lying every 5 seconds. So yeah, I mean that problem doesn't go away, and I think that's why that's where I was at yesterday. Like
we have a cultural shift that we need to work at a local level. Like we have in every single one of our communities, even the international from where I stand, the people that I consider in the States, my community, my people, like we have work to do to create a cultural shift. To speak out, to work in social justice areas on the local level, et cetera, to try in the education system. Everything will go back to education for me. So we have a huge cultural change that we need to take care of. That until we do, we are going to keep coming up against this barrier wall.
So, I'm looking. I'm sorry. I was data mining a little bit while you guys were talking, and I'm looking at the 22 Senate seats that are coming up. Okay,
all right, 2 years from now, I was starting to wonder about that as well.
Richard Shelby in Alabama. Last race, 64% of the vote as a Republican. Lisa Murkowski in Alaska is vulnerable in 22, 44% of the vote in Alaska. Right, John Boozman from Arkansas. And I'm only naming the Republicans because that's who we need to focus on here. Marco Rubio is up in 22, and he may decide to run for president, right? So that may be an open seat in Florida, which would be an astonishingly good opportunity for Democrats. Mike Crapo in Idaho, Todd Young in Indiana. Chuck Grassley is up for re-election, and he's been in the Senate since 1980. That's 40 years. He may, he was looking rough during the Mueller investigation, and maybe he's going to retire. Jerry Moran in Kansas, Rand Paul in Kentucky, John Kennedy in Louisiana, Roy Blunt in Missouri, Richard Burr in North Carolina, Jim Hoeven in North Dakota, Rob Portman in Ohio. He's going to be vulnerable. James Lankford in Oklahoma. Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania. He's a pretty moderate. It says incumbent retiring. That'll be an open seat. Tim Scott in South Carolina. John Thune in South Dakota. Mike Lee in Utah. And Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. So there's a lot of this. Well, that's anything 22.
Anything in a red state is gone because they're voting straight party lines. Like there is no sign we're going to get pickups in red states.
We have 2 years. Not one. We have 2 years to work on that.
But like, unless they suddenly have a candidate who's an actual child fucking molester, right? Then we're gonna lose. And I think so we need to get really, really smart. Like the South Carolina stuff and the Texas stuff taught us one really important thing. If we want to, use resources to try and actually win the Senate, we got to be a lot smarter, and we have to stop going after races that. Like the Mitch McConnell thing and the Lindsey Graham thing, we spent like $140 million on losing by 15 fucking points. So, even Lisa Murkowski, that's going to be, in the range of what we want to go after. But fucking Susan Collins won. So, I'm absolutely excited for those races. I think Marco Rubio is the type of thing that we'll want to be focusing our attention. Obviously, in Florida, we're going to be doing that anyway because fuck that guy. But yeah, I mean, most of those races are safe. Like, just let's face facts. We're not going to win any of them.
Yeah, that's happening, Maria. Maria's let's put a legalization of marijuana initiative on the ballot in 22 in Florida. That's happening. We just didn't quite make the number in 20. It will be on the 22 ballot. That's I have that from Gary Stein, who's an activist in that field. He's confident that it'll be on the ballot in 22 in Florida.
I think one of the big things economically we're going to have to be concerned about. I actually mentioned this last time I was on with you guys, but the California Prop 22 that got passed is actually a big deal because I have a feeling that nationally something could get modeled after it. And basically, corporations like Uber and Lyft won. I voted no against the prop. I've asked a few friends who were there, and I've also kind of started looking into it myself. And the problem is that it basically keeps corporations from like offering benefits to like gig workers, digital nomad type people, self-employed, sort of contractor type people like me, basically, and people really like the two of you in a way. Like it's something that worries me, I think, on a national level. So it's something that we're going to have to, I think, really pay attention to as far as propositions. Congratulations to the drugs, but economically, we need to start putting some attention on what we're gonna need from Biden when it comes to protections as far as economy and work.
Well, yeah.
By the way, I'm just speaking life into the situation. I'm just like speaking Biden's got it. I'm just gonna like start speaking it, like putting some good vibes in it. Right.
Yep, it's moving our way. I guess I could bring up MSNBC on another screen here instead of.
Yeah, I had
30 seconds, but
yeah, we're still. I mean that.
Well,
North Carolina.
Yeah, I wanted to say one of the things when we had Kelly on Tuesday night, she talked about a sort of radical overhaul of DEC Democratic Executive Committee operations, and I'm hearing that conversation at the state level too. I'm hearing that there's a bit of a palace revolt in how we do things in Florida for the Democratic Party, and I'm living for that because there's a lot of very young, very angry progressive Democrats. Basically the strategic focus in this cycle was on the presidency, and ironically, they were espousing a trickle down idea that winning the top of the ticket in Florida would trickle down to benefit all the local races, and they did not send any money to Daniel Antonino, and he had a very good chance of displacing an ineffectual, immature, possibly corrupt bad actor in Amber Mariano, and they spent no effort on it at all, and that's
have we not learned that trickle down does not work?
Well, you would think that this is like the Israelis ghettoizing people. How do you not recognize what's happening here? It's you're doing what was done to you. I can't imagine the Democratic Party espousing this idea that good things would rain down from the top of the ticket in this election cycle. Kelly's idea is we basically locally we take a whiff on 22. We don't spend a lot of money running a lot of people. We focus on 24, the next presidential election cycle in Pasco, and maybe the state needs to think about that too. We need to fix our state legislative issues and our local county issues, and let the national scene take care of itself. We're not a swing state in this cycle, yeah, that's where I see that happening.
Yeah, I think that's probably smart.
I mean, the gap between the Democratic candidates in our county and the Republican candidates was all 38 to 41%. In other words, 60-40 split was how it went. And guess what? 20% more Republicans voted than Democrats in this cycle. Right. Yeah. So there's your 20%. So we're faced with increasing Democratic turnout by 20% in the next election cycle. And that's a steep hill here.
By the way, Georgia officials. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. Philadelphia County is going to Biden by like 80-20. Some
parts of it by 90-10.
Yeah. So, and that's a lot of the votes still have to come in from there. So, PA, yay.
Georgia officials apparently are speaking right now because there's still tens of thousands of votes that are uncounted. I'm seeing this actually on CNN.
Yep.
So I don't know what MSNBC has, but it says they're holding a press conference to give an update on the votes counted so far. There is currently a razor-thin margin between the candidates in the state, and with 16 electoral college vote, a win in the state would be a huge prize for either, obviously. Yep. So it was just announcing that the officials are giving a press conference as they are sort of dwindling in their count at the moment. FYI.
Right. I want to. Did you want to bring up the audio on that, Corey, or not? I don't know what we're doing.
I don't know. I just having it up there to
Okay.
to show it.
I want to talk
Whatever.
about these legal challenges for just a second, because there's a very much an inconsistent message going on here, where they're trying to keep the count going in some states and stop the count in other states. Now, I don't know how that affects a court case. Like, I don't think that the judge is allowed to consider what's happening in other courts while they're deciding what should happen in their court. But one of the things that's on my mind is there is no James Baker in this fight, right? You know, one of the things that was successful for Bush in 2000 here was that, number one, they had James Baker in the fight, and James Baker was a well-known statesman and attorney, a brilliant legal mind, and he lent an air of authority to everything that happened in Florida. And secondly, they were looking for a very narrow decision about 4 counties in Florida. They had a specific ask in the court. Who's leading the effort for the Trump administration right now appears to be, I was tucking in my shirt, Giuliani, not now known as a brilliant legal mind, not anybody who's been statesman-like in his approach to these things. And I kind of get the feeling that state judges are going to be not happy to entertain.
Well, yeah, Greg, it's going to be like
it's nakedly visible what's happening.
Right. And name one rule they broke, and then the courts are going to laugh them out of the courtroom.
Right. And these are state decisions. Tom Ridge, Republican, former national security director, former governor of Pennsylvania, was on TV this morning saying, this is ridiculous. You know, what we do in America is we count all the votes. Scott Walker last night said he thought the suit in Wisconsin was unlikely to succeed because 20,000. They're trying to close a 20,000 vote gap, and the last 2 recounts they did in Wisconsin turned 120 to 150 votes. You know, not 150,000, 150. So he doesn't think that this is reasonable, and I can't imagine even conservative justices are going to look benevolently on these legal attempts, especially because they're not being made by people with standing. I'm not sure that the Trump administration or the Trump campaign has standing in some of these court cases, right? With the argument that they're making about their inability to observe the vote counting, I think that's what they're after in Michigan. Is there are dozens of Republican vote counters and observers in the room that were appointed by the Michigan Board of Elections, you know, that were sent there by the Republican Party of Michigan. So the Trump campaign's argument is we need observers in the room because we don't trust our own Republican representatives in Michigan. That's ridiculous.
The thing is Trump doesn't actually know how this works. That's the problem, right? And I know that he definitely lies on purpose and things like that. But this is an issue where I genuinely believe he has no idea of how it actually works. He just doesn't know. And there's not really anyone sitting around him that's telling him how it works. They're just trying to make arguments that will help be yes men and help him make his case, right? Which he doesn't have one. He's going to lose this. It's ridiculous. So I definitely think that this is a lot of pomp and sass, because it's going to fall. It's going to either fall by the wayside, or it's going to be completely rejected, because he just doesn't even know. There's already people in there. We already know that this is fine. It's just he's now creating a rhetoric to try and get people to demand something. And I actually like that you put up Rob's comment, because this is the other problem: is you have people, his followers, who really still don't know how it works,
right?
And if they stop now, their own votes don't get counted. And
they're talking about disenfranchising a whole lot of Republican votes. That makes me crazy.
Right. And but that's the thing is that there's no understanding. He's creating perfect gaslighting, right? Perfect. I mean, like we go back to the domestic abuse sort of analogies we talk about all the time. That's what he's doing. It's a perfect gaslight to confuse people so much so that they just get tired and they just do it.
Yeah. And I also was told that the other night he was off the script at his 3 a.m. Conference from the East Room.
Of course.
That's not what they wanted him to say. So when he said, we're going to go to the Supreme Court, that's not a thing. He can't go to the Supreme Court. He can take it to court in states. And if those states, they can appeal those outcomes and eventually get to the Supreme Court. But the clock is ticking. Certification has to happen in a certain number of days in all these states. And they're going to run out of time, and that's I'm okay with that. But right now, like I'm feeling better about this. I feel like the court cases are not going to amount to anything. They're going to get batted aside, and the count is going to continue. And so now what I'm seeing people post is, I saw one last night. It was a graphic that some TV station had put up with the number of registered voters and the number of actual voters. And it was, the number of actual voters was higher than it was a mistake on a TV graphic. And they're making some huge thing about, there are more voters than, no, the TV guy, the Chiron guy got it wrong. The graphics guy made an error, or the person that was typing that in put the data in backwards. Next, that's where they're at now, is they're grasping at this idea that somehow counting all the votes is anti. For a bunch of people that were shouting all lives matter at me 6 months ago, this is pretty hilarious, that all votes apparently don't matter.
Again,
hello, Jonah.
It's the result of the gaslight. It's the result of the gaslight. I mean, that's the thing. You twist people's mind up so much, then they're just going to go whatever sounds good in the moment. Yeah. And ultimately, they're gaslighting themselves because they're so, like, we've created an anxiety. Yes. Right. This is why I go back to like personal psychology or familial psychology all the time, because we really can apply these concepts. And you create such an anxiety in a person, such a confusion, to the point where they're gaslighting themselves. They don't even trust themselves. How are they going to trust anybody else? And at the end of the day, they're going to scream and cry whatever the most instant thing is, because they're so codependent on basically their thoughts being made for them, rather than being able to have some sense of individual command of their own mind. Yeah.
If you wonder, if you're out there and you aren't familiar with gaslighting as a concept, if you want to know how it feels, the anxiety that you're feeling right now whenever they show up in front of the TV and talk about they're suing to stop the count, or this is going to throw it over to Trump, this is what that anxiety you get. That's what gaslighting feels like when it happens to you. This is, in your personal life, this is what it feels like. So it's also a really good example.
Right. It's basically when someone makes you question your reality. And it's based off of the 1940 movie. I think it was a 1930s play, where basically this husband makes his wife so crazy that she goes crazy. And every time he would switch and play with the gaslight, he would make her think that she had done it and then accuse her of it, and she goes nuts. So it's actually a really disturbing movie. I've actually seen the film, but it became part of sort of the psychology lingo, if you will, to try and help define people when they were going through sort of emotional and mental abuse. And this is what's happening on a bigger scale with Trump right now. The more he can confuse people and divert attention and say this thing and that thing and this thing and all of that. I mean, we are a big country. We should expect that counting the votes is going to take a while. I'm surprised that they can get it done in a few days. I think they're probably trying to do it faster right now for the sake of not having to continue to deal with all of this. But we should expect it. The electorates don't even go for their vote until December. So my encouragement to anybody would be, if you can turn it off, breathe, and remember that it's not over yet. We have a lot of good things that have happened. There's still a lot of work to do, and try just to not listen to his voice, because it's really terrible.
Yeah, tip of the hat for Jonah Hepsworth. They're making a Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid reference. That's not something I get very much in my life. But Maria Richardson, right, bang on here. I laughed at myself last night after Joe Biden stated he captured the most votes in American history. I said, I wonder how Donald will lose his shit. Like, I had to consider what a terrorist spoiled toddler would think. Enough of that crap. That's exactly right. The first place you go is what will Donald think? And I do it too. Oh, he's going to lose his shit when he sees that. What I'm doing is giving him all that space in my head. I'm giving the abusive gaslighter all that room to affect my thoughts, even in a negative way. And that's not healthy. Right.
Yeah. I do love Maria's comment where she says, after Joe Biden said he captured the most votes in American history, I think he's actually surpassed Obama's record. I wonder how Donald will lose his shit. That's the thing is that, he's now probably anxious in his mind. And so he's going to grasp for straws, right? Because he's a terrible dictator. Do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's not even good at it.
I had a British friend of mine tell me, he said, Americans are terrible imperialists. And I laughed because when you look at it, America basically goes in, bombs a place, and then leaves. Whereas like the Brits and the French, not that I'm pro imperialism, but they would at least like build something. Right. Well, Donald, he's a wannabe dictator and he's terrible at it. He's not even good at it. So, you know.
Well, remember
That's-
during
I mean-
during the Mueller era, we were calling it stupid Watergate, you know, because it just seemed like they were really bad at all the things they should have been good at if they wanted to be nefarious.
And we talked about this back then too. During the fall of the Roman Republic, there was a ham-fisted authoritarian who took power first and showed all the cracks and showed exactly what needed to be done. And then Caesar, who was by all accounts ridiculously brilliant, came in and destroyed it. And so now we know that our institutions are effectively powerless. We know that the norms that were kind of duct taping everything together are dog shit. And unless those get fixed, it's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when a capable dictator destroys all of this. Like that to me, unless we see the things that will change that, that is an actual certainty in this country. Might be 20 years from now, but it's going to happen. Because it has to happen now.
Unless we shore up those things and
Yes.
make them law.
Make them bulletproof. Exactly.
Right.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, too. Most people don't realize this. Look, I understand that there's always a lot of praise for FDR because of the New Deal and a lot of things that he did when it came to the economy. But there were some sides of him that weren't so great either. And it was because of him that we went into two-term presidency. And because he was going for his third or fourth when he finally passed away. And so I think that's the other thing is that we don't actually recognize that we've kind of been here a little bit before. There were some things that, again, he was a much better president than Trump was, but he wasn't. This isn't the first time that we've come up against somebody that wants power for longer, that wants to hold on to what they think that they've got. And there were people that didn't like FDR. So, we have to, I mean, he did take us into a war. Now, was World War II a good war to go into? Yeah, we helped kick Hitler's ass. But I think that we have to kind of keep it in perspective in terms of like people who gain power who really want to hold on to that power. If they're cunning enough, they will do anything to get it. So, you're right in saying that what we have to do is we have to start putting these things in writing so that it can't be done again, right? The only way to really change it, the only way we're really going to face it is if we make it ironclad through the Constitution. And it's not exactly as ironclad in the Constitution as it could be. We have 2 terms, but that doesn't stop somebody from, trying another way, trying another route as Trump has.
I can't.
Fred Krueger from Proton fame. Let me see if I can get I cannot. Anyway, long story short, it's Trump's lead in Pennsylvania by the time of day.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So basically,
that's an hour scale. 5,
yes,
10, 15.
Yes. By tomorrow morning, we're going to be up in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
Assuming that this extremely steady graph decides to keep going, and I don't think we have any evidence that it won't. So that's fun.
We are up in Arizona again. It's gone up a little bit, and Trump has ever so slightly cut into Biden in Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, like Arizona, it's been called, so I mean, it's probable.
But there's a question mark there though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hasn't the AP called Arizona?
AP and Fox called it. NBC has not. I don't think CNN has called it either. Everybody's using a little bit of a different scope on this. They all have their own decision desks, right? Fox called it early, which is why Trump supporters were chanting Fox News sucks late last night. Much to I laughed right out loud at my television while I was watching that. Yeah. But NBC has been very cautious about Arizona because they think that not all of these votes that are yet to come in are going to swing heavily for Biden. We'll see. So, but I kind of like the only path for Trump is Arizona, right? The only way, if he has to have Arizona to get there at this point.
Yeah, and he's not. I don't think he's going to.
I'm really anxious for an Arizona call because I think that pretty much that seals the deal. Even if we don't get Nevada till later today or tomorrow, I feel like that's closing the door pretty firmly. And I think Pennsylvania is absolutely going to fall to Biden. So,
well, I mean, if Pennsylvania does, then
It's
Arizona
game
doesn't
over.
help Trump. Yeah.
right. But it's going to take several more days for PA to, I think, Friday before
right.
Pennsylvania's done. Right. So we'll
Friday's
like to shut the door before we get there.
tomorrow.
Is it?
Yeah, Friday's tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're on a special Thursday.
Georgia I may
announced
have been abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Recount.
Michelle and I had that exact conversation. I was like, I don't think we're going to know PA until Friday. He's like, oh, Friday. And then I was like, Friday's tomorrow, right? Friday's tomorrow. She got very excited about that.
Yeah. Some of you are surprised that Rick Scott is running in 22. That's a thing. Or 24 for president. That he ran ads in Iowa this year.
Wait, if he runs, does that mean is he going to maintain the Senate seat? Probably, right?
No, his Senate seat comes up in 24. So he could run for president without losing his Senate seat.
Man.
Yep. And I think that was his plan all along. I think that's why he timed his Senate run the way he did.
What's funny is I'm aware of Rick Scott, obviously, for a variety of reasons. But it's funny because I don't feel like he's actually known that much on a countrywide scale, unless I'm wrong. I just don't feel like he has a wide country recognition. Am I wrong about that?
No, but that actually benefits him. Because if they knew him better.
I see what you said.
Right. I think he's remained stealthy because he did such heinous things to Florida, to our economy, to our environmental regulations. He put the fifth something like 40 times in testimony about a company he owned defrauding, the largest Medicare fraud in the history of our country. He was on the board of the company that did that. And that was before we elected him governor.
I would be interested to see him go up against Newsom or type figure, because here's the thing: when it comes to the environment, you have a lot of you do have a lot of youth that is very, very pro environment, and so I do think that he won't get far.
Right.
You know what? He'll make a splash, and then I think he'll go away because he'll be up against people that are listening to the next generation who are saying do something. Yeah. And his record in Florida will fuck him over.
Rick Scott's governorship in Florida, and I have some direct experience with this, and I actually have a connection to somebody that served in his administration as a permanent staffer, not as an appointee. What they did, and they did this in environmental policy, and they did it in my field in counseling. There are stringent guidelines for who can be a moderator or a facilitator in a battery intervention group. And there were, at the time that he took office, there were 15 statewide inspectors who could roll into your office any day and ask to see a random selection of your files to make sure that your client files were up to date and as they were supposed to be. And you would be decertified for battery intervention program if you failed that audit. He fired 13 of them because they were getting too many bad reports. Right. So when he says things like, when he would say things like, oh, well, our BIP programs are robust, our counseling's, mental health services are robust, it's because no one was actually checking anymore. So basically, and the same thing happened in environmental regulation. There were 15 or 20 DEP investigators, and he cut that to 9, and then he cut it to 4. Right. So those 4 people have to cover every investigation that somebody's illegally dumping chemicals into a lake for the entire state of Florida, which is massive. It's 7-8 hours driving from one end of our state to the other. So that's how he managed to make things look better, is by just stopping asking questions. They threw out all the thermometers, to make the COVID joke. We just stopped testing. And that's how he accomplished reducing the budget. He did not put us in the federal Medicaid, the Medicaid guidelines to comply with ACA, because that's wasting federal dollars at the expense of people's lives. And our friend Brenda Goyette was managing the West Coast AIDS Foundation, and they defunded waivers for HIV, for head injuries, and for cystic fibrosis. In other words, if you were diagnosed with any of those 3 conditions, you were automatically going to get Medicaid. There was a waiver system, and they defunded all of those waiver programs, right, to make it harder for people who absolutely had the need to get Medicaid. So he has a horrible reputation here in Florida amongst everybody except business owners. And they like him, but so I'm not excited about seeing him. I mean, be certainly one of the president, but
I mean that's the thing. That's the thing with 45 though, is that he has a terrible reputation in New York. New York can't stand him.
So breaking update on PA, Trump's edge is being winnowed down. There are now only 142,000 votes between Biden and Trump. Trump still leads, but the mail-ins are leaning more like 80% Biden. So we are on board for him to take PA. More data to come from Secretary of State later today. So
What's
and
the
that's
source
the thing.
on
Like
that?
if we, I don't know. But,
Sherry, if you can type
Sherry
in the source
will.
on that, we'd like that.
Just saying, Georgia has 61,000, so we will probably know Georgia this afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, Georgia's going to come down to 4 digits. It's going to be under 10,000, the gap between them, whichever way that goes. And let's also remember, if it's really, really close, there could be a recount in Georgia. I think that's probably likely where we're heading. And if we learned anything from 2018, I'm sure that Georgia organizers are already pounding the phones to tell people we need observers, we need people in every county in Georgia at the SOE office, all hands on deck. So I'm sure both sides are getting ready for a recount in Georgia. Still looking for that Purdue number to drop to 49.9%, which would put he and Ossoff in another runoff for Senate seats in Georgia.
Come on.
I'm sure John Lewis is smiling down on all of that.
Right?
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, look, that's the other reason I really want Georgia to flip, because John Lewis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, between John Lewis and Stacey Abrams, just like, come on.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Maria. Despite all of the things I just told you about Rick Scott, we promoted him to the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, we're stupid in Florida. That's just hello,
we voted for Rick Scott instead of Bill Nelson. An astronaut.
Yeah, Arizona's eating her lunch. Now, granted, Mark Kelly's a lot cooler than our astronaut, but still.
Yeah. Mark Kelly's a good man. I mean, I've heard him speak and do interviews and stuff.
Solid,
he's a solid human being. So,
yep.
I look forward to
Jesus, the popular vote is pretty intense. And here's the thing, obviously
we're well over 3 million now. Well over
yeah. It's like 3.7 million.
Popular vote lead.
Yeah, it's really close to 4 million.
Yeah.
I'm sure all those 4 million votes they voted illegally in California.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's how that happened.
Oh boy.
Oh man, there was exactly 3.7 million illegal votes in California.
What a coincidence.
Oh my god. It's like the lying isn't even good. And and honestly, that's what has me deeply at the bottom of my being. All of my molecules are vibrating with there is a good liar out there. And it'll spell the absolute end. Because an idiot managed to almost kill this country, assuming again that he doesn't pull, some kind of victory out of the jaws of defeat now, which is I'm still until Biden's in the White House. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I think we all should. So we just don't know.
A couple of interesting things happened yesterday. The Biden transition team website went live yesterday evening. Which I wouldn't think was going to happen unless they were pretty confident.
Right. And cheeky even. I like
the other thing that I saw last night that I thought was interesting, I saw a NOTAMs, which is a notice to aviators and mariners that's issued by the FAA and other federal authorities when they are making a change to where you can operate your boat or your aircraft. Like if a new ship sinks near a shipping harbor, they'll issue a NOTAMs to let you know there's wreckage at 20 feet, things like that. Well, they issued one yesterday, which is an air defense exclusion zone over Wilmington, Delaware.
Hello. I mean, that's a thing.
I mean, that has to do with, of course, that they'll have to fly President-elect Biden and whoever from Wilmington to Washington D.C. on either Air Force One or Marine One. I don't know how far Wilmington is from D.C. I feel bad I don't know that. It's not far. It's like 100 miles. But anyway, so that's why they do that, right? To make sure that Air Force One or Marine One are safe in that airspace. And I know that that's probably a thing that was going to happen, but I'm sure it's a timetable thing. Like they think they're a certain number of hours away from a determination being made. So I feel like things are leaning towards a Biden presidency. I actually kind of feel like we'll get a call this afternoon, sometime late this afternoon or early evening. I think today we'll know. who the president is.
It's very possible. It's very, very, very possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I was actually listening to Al Franken and Bill Maher. You know, because Bill Maher, he's just cynically spreading the lie that, you know, that he's like, we're gonna go into this full-on civil war. I don't think we will. I think it's gonna be militias popping up that are gonna like try and, but it'll be put down pretty quickly. I also think that if Trump doesn't leave, if he childishly refuses to leave, you know, Al Franken said, and I agree with him, that, you know, our Joint Chiefs of Staff will walk him out.
Well, and for the record, Chris Hayes was on Ezra Klein, and constitutionally speaking, the Secret Service walks him out, which is exactly what I said 3 years ago.
Sure.
But you know, if he's managed to poison them out, exactly, the Joint Chiefs will as well. Because in the Radio Lab episode, at the end of the day, like all these elections, everything we're doing, it really boils down to who the Pentagon hands the codes to. And like that, you know,
well, I mean,
they unilaterally make that decision. And ordinarily, it doesn't, you know, who cares? We don't have to do that. But that's still, you know, it's entirely their prerogative.
Too is I also think that most people don't quite always realize this about narcissistic personalities, and that is Trump is really about saving face. Everything is about saving face. He will not face the humiliation of being escorted out. If there is even the threat of him being escorted out, I actually think that he'll find a way to just quietly go.
Yeah,
exactly. And then once he gets to his house in New York, start making noise again. But the point is I think that he will avoid the humiliation of being shown being escorted out, which you know is what would happen.
Oh, yeah,
every news organization would be there to show that.
Yeah. So
I do think that on one hand, yes, we do have the chance of him not wanting to leave, and he's going to pull every trick in the book to try and seal this. Simultaneously, our Joint Chiefs of Staff or the Secret Service or whatever, they'll take care of it, one. And two, I do think he, as a narcissistic personality, he will absolutely attempt to save face. He won't want to be seen that way. He won't want to be seen being walked out. So he'll find a way around it or not happen.
Well, his next job is professional victim who had the presidency stole from him at OAN. Like that's where all this is going. Right?
He goes to OAN or he finds his buddy Hannity and they start a thing.
No,
and,
honestly, I don't think Fox News will cover it. Like they're basically like, if the New York Post is willing to do the story that we definitely don't want to cover, that's fine, because then we cover that story as if it was a story, and they've got sort of that layer between them. But like right now, Fox News apparently, you know, throughout the course of this election, as far as the numbers are concerned, has been trying to lean towards the like facts, which has shocked a lot of people, right? They're trying to position themselves for a Biden administration.
Hannity's not, though. Hannity is already doing his commentary thing, and he's already like, you already see him putting in subtle messages about, you know, stopping the count and things like that, and trying to warp it.
Yeah,
he's 45's puppet. So, you know, even if Fox in and of itself doesn't necessarily do it, like Hannity will become a thing with 45. I mean, look.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Cathie Brinkman, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start his own news channel. They've already talked about it. I actually think what's going to happen is he's going to end up as a partner in OAN.
Yeah.
And they'll give him some sort of prime time.
You know who's going to own half of it? Fucking Putin. I'll bet you $1 he gets funding from Russia.
Did anybody besides me see Giuliani on RT the other night on Russian state media? Are you kidding me?
But he didn't know it was RT. And also he was tucking a shirt in.
Right. It was a tuck.
It was a tuck. I was tucking.
RT is blatantly state media.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the thing is I've known people who have worked for RT. They actually have like a German affiliate that they call Ruptly. Yeah. And most people don't realize that it is RT. They have no idea that it's owned by RT, that it's, you know, its stakeholders are Russian, and that they just put themselves in Germany to kind of create themselves a little, you know, sort of what do you call it? They're almost like what AP and Reuters are, but Russia backed.
Gotcha.
So kind of agency. They wanted to create their own little agency. You know, and I actually have shot video for them in the past, but it's just straight video.
Right.
What they do with it, I'm you know, humanitarian efforts I'm not going to participate in.
Caitlin Erickson, isn't Nevada supposed to give an update at noon? I was told 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Or are they Pacific?
I saw an update earlier.
Mountain, right?
Yeah, that it might be noon their time, which is 3 o'clock our time.
Oh, okay, so later in the day than I suspected.
Yeah, I'm not waiting for a call till tomorrow morning. Again, we might get one. That'd be great. You know, Biden comes in like, "Hey, I'm president, motherfuckers." I'll tune in for that. That'll be really good. Hopefully he does it exactly like that.
I'm kind of curious.
I want PAs like to come in, because I mean, basically this is going to be an argument. Oh my God, it's just over 270. Blah blah blah. If we really do have PA, like Trump is basically going to deflate like a pop balloon.
Okay, but the last thing I was told was we want to expect Pennsylvania till tomorrow sometime.
That's what I'm saying. Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Trump has already cut into Biden's lead. I just saw on CNN that Trump has cut into a little bit of the lead in Pennsylvania. Doesn't mean there's not enough for Biden to come back in. It's just that Trump has now cut into the lead, which he is now saying that he's happy about.
His lead. Yeah, that's fine. Honestly, whatever. And maybe we get it, maybe we don't. We're just like trend right now, and PA is great. And you know, if Nevada and Arizona make it official, then we're good anyway. Fuck it.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, if we get Arizona, which we're probably likely to get, if we get Arizona, it's done, right?
I'm pretty sure that closes the door. I'm pretty sure.
Because then we're at 269.
That's what she said.
Right.
Sorry, guys, I'm doing math, but
and I think Nevada's going our way too. So I think Arizona and Nevada seals the deal.
So over to you. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think that makes it 270 on the nose.
And keep in mind, as you're looking at some of the delegate counts, the EV counts are showing Arizona already called. So some agencies have Biden at 264, some do not. Right. So if that proves out that Arizona is actually there, that's 264. That means only Nevada. Nevada will do it. Nevada is 6 electoral votes. Nevada gets Biden to 270. So that's why I'm thinking Arizona, Nevada is how this is going to go. Does that make sense? You guys are looking troubled.
Yes, I'm processing this information because it's a lot of numbers. I became a journalist, so I wouldn't have to do math.
I'm bad at math. You wouldn't think I would make a good political organizer.
So Trump calls for Wisconsin recount. Isn't the difference in Wisconsin more than 0.5%? Is that going to be legal?
I think it's
or is it under the threshold?
There's a state required recount threshold, and then there's a threshold at which any candidate can request, and I think he's within that boundary, so they'll be requesting the recount. Like in Florida, if it's under 0.5%, it's an automatic recount, right? So I know that's the rule here, and every state is different, but there may be two different thresholds for what's required by the state and what a candidate at which a candidate can request a recount. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's still. They wouldn't be pursuing it if they weren't under that line. Well, a normally aspirated attorney would not.
With any recount request, though, we have to be hyper vigilant and aware, because we remember what happened in Florida in 2000. So I think with any request for a recount in any of these states, whether it be Pennsylvania or Georgia or wherever it would be, we have to make sure. I think the Democrats have to be hyper vigilant as far as the legal side of it. And there has to be some solid observers in there and everything else, because again, we don't want a repeat of that. We don't want a repeat of it. And, Al Gore was gracious enough to just say, okay, this time we can't be gracious.
Okay. Consensus of informed people in our comment thread is that the candidate can request the recount, but they have to pay for it. And it's going to be about $3 million, which is why he's begging people for money on the internet this morning in emails.
Sorry. I mean, I'm not that sorry, but a little bit sorry.
Well, and the other thing is that I guess, and Michelle ended up sending me a link, but I guess I now seen that his campaign is telling people to prepare to fight.
Yeah, I mean that was expected, right?
Well, there was a laughable guy yesterday that showed up in Nevada when the director of elections was speaking out in front of the counting center, and he ran up in a pizza and barbecue shirt, or beer and barbecue shirt, and started ranting and raving. But he ran right up on the guy making that statement, and I my heart jumped, because what if the next guy isn't just wearing flip flops and a barbecue and beer T-shirt, right? I think what happened last night in Arizona, where people with long guns were showing up at the vote counting center at midnight and trying to mob their way inside.
Yeah,
I think we're in a moment. And I don't want any of us to be surprised if things get wonky because of that. So let's take a deep breath. Let's recognize that the count is going our way, that prominent former Republican senators, governors, elected officials are saying, no, we count all the votes in America. That's what we do. Scott fucking Walker, who I despise, is saying that. He's
Agreed.
saying that 20,000 is a really difficult hill to climb in Wisconsin, which is his way of saying this is a dumb idea. Why are we doing this? So I think the momentum is with us, and the momentum to continue counting is with it. But I can see why Maricopa County might have stopped counting for a while last night, because they had fucking people with AR-15s in the parking lot screaming at them.
Well,
just to make sure they were safe.
I had a laugh out loud moment earlier because I was watching some CNN and I was listening to John King, and he was, Anderson Cooper was asking him about this, about, kind of the challenge to stop the count. And John looked straight at the camera and he goes, "This isn't what we do here."
Right. Yeah. And the Pennsylvania, God bless him, the Pennsylvania Secretary of State, who's been talking to MSNBC about this process, he's been very calm. Like this morning, well, would you characterize this as an attempt to? And he's like, I'm not going to get into an argument with the Trump campaign over what Pennsylvania state law is. On the air. We'll talk about that in the courtroom. He was very calm, very matter of fact. No, we're going to keep counting because that's what you do. And that's yeah.
So Joner said, is a tie built out of electoral college? Is there no tie failsafe? If there is a tie in the electoral college, it goes to Nancy Pelosi's house. And we know how that would go. Do you guys want to stay on for a little bit, or do you want to go? Because if you want to stay on, I'm going to dip out for a few minutes.
No, I'm good.
We're good.
Let's cap it. We're doing another show at 10 tomorrow or later today if there is some sort of
if there's an
statement.
announcement, we might carry that for sure.
Yes.
All right, guys.
Gentlemen.
You guys
thank
are
you, Ash,
fantastic.
for taking some time with us today. We appreciate it.
All right, well, Ash, do you want to say the thing?
What, Sasquatch is real?
Nailed it.